Hey, I'm Zach, Johnny's producer on his podcast, Masters of Wealth. Today on the show, Johnny's sitting down with Heather Monahan, a professional confidence coach that cut her teeth writing best-selling books and hosting her own podcast, Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan. Stick around to hear Heather and Johnny talk professional identity, turning your mess into a message, and why confidence will always be the one thing that can change everything.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Johnny Wimbrey. Welcome back to the Masters of Wealth show. I'm super excited about today's guest. We have Heather Monahan with us, an incredible leader of just many things. First of all, hashtag boss in heels. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Thanks for having me.
Incredibly honored to have you. Let's just jump right into it. I've been following you. I believe we connected on LinkedIn and followed a lot of your information, a lot of things that you have going on. You are truly a boss. And I want to talk about that. How did you come up with that boss in heels? Let's talk a little bit about your story and your background of how you came up with that.
Yeah, I was in corporate America for 20 years. And at the time I came up with boss in heels, I was a chief revenue officer of a media company, had been there for 14 years and decided that I wanted to do a little bit more in my day-to-day, a little bit more purpose-driven work. I had been on a board of a charity, City Year Miami, for 7 years at that time, but that was outside of work. And I was trying to figure out, how can I bring a little bit of meaning other than just driving value for shareholders? And I decided that since I had grown up poor and figured out a way to make it to the C-suite, the ultimate highest point in corporate America, why not pull back that curtain and share the insight that I had learned the hard way with other people that might be struggling? So I decided to launch my personal website, heathermonahan.com, and utilize the hashtag boss in heels, which really meant be you, be the kind of boss that you are. If you want to rock heels, rock them. If you want to rock flip-flops or purple hair, do that. But what I found is, to get ahead in business, you really need to own who you are and not conform to how others might tell you you should be. And I've tried both ways. So I have a lot of experience in regards to success in either way, being the navy blue pantsuit wearing hair in a ponytail boss, or being a boss that would go to meetings wearing a dress, wearing my hair blown out with makeup and heels. I've done it all different ways, and I've seen the response I get. I wanted to share that insight with people because ultimately I found that the more authentic and real you can be in who you are, the more success that you'll find, the more you'll gravitate towards the right people and the right opportunities for you. So I took my social media handles public. I launched my website. I started utilizing that hashtag with intention, and I was met with tremendous resistance. And ultimately the GC and CFO came after me and told me I had to shut down everything that I was doing. And I had researched a lot and done tremendous due diligence in regards to other major companies like Bank of America, for example, whose chief revenue officer had a personal brand. And I was prepared. I had done my homework and showcased for them a number of other blue chip companies where C-suite executives had personal brands, were doing good in the world, and had good intention, just like I did. And unfortunately for me, the next year was very combative. I was constantly being threatened and harassed at work about this personal brand. In the end, I ultimately was fired when the CFO became the CEO. But, long story short, that's really where the origination of that hashtag came from.
I love it. I love that. So it came from a little bit of revenge. Success is revenge, right? I love that.
That really wasn't the intention. The intention was to share what I had learned over a 20-year journey in corporate America.
Sure.
With other people. That was really the goal. So it was, trying to give back really to other people, because I didn't have anyone mentoring me when I was younger. You know what?
When I say success is revenge, I'm coming from my point of view, because something you just said that has happened in my life just recently. As a brand person, of someone who's building his brand and someone who's, building companies at the exact same time, there's a company out there specifically that I helped generate over $1 billion. And I grew that company from being in one country, which was the United States, and expanded over 60 countries around the world. And they were okay with that. But they I'm a best-selling author. They weren't okay with that part. They weren't okay with the part that, I'm on television and I'm being interviewed as an expert witness and sitting on panels and being a celebrity life coach. It's amazing to me that And this is something that I had to learn, and it was a hurtful point in my life because I didn't know how to identify what level of a relationship that was in. And one of my mentors, Bishop T.D. Jakes, actually, he does a leadership conference, and in that leadership conference, he talked about you have confidence, you have comrades, and you have constituents. And this literally saved me, Heather, because I didn't realize that just because someone's clapping for you, it doesn't mean they're your confidant. A confidant is somebody who's going to be with you through thick and thin. They're going to love you, like you talking about. I saw a video of you talking about your feet stink and all this other stuff, and your fiance at that time. I don't know if it's a husband now, but the fiance, whatever it is, it's somebody who loves you for who you are and what you represent, even when they don't benefit. That's a confidant, and I couldn't distinguish that. I thought if you're clapping for me and you're cheering for me and I'm helping you build your company and our kids are playing together, then you're a confidant. And it just wasn't the fact. A constituent is someone who, they'll align forces with you with the mindset of going against another force. And that's okay. It's called an ally. And then you have constituents, confidants, and what was the third one I said? A comrade. A comrade is somebody who'll go to war with you. And I didn't know the difference. And I think that's what I meant by, success is revenge. So what I would do is I'd put another book out. I would be on somebody else's show. I'd take a picture with Oprah Winfrey and I would post it. And to me, that would be my way of getting this silent revenge as I'm climbing my way up and I'm building my own personal brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Tell me a little bit about your background. You talked about you grew up poor. I want to talk about that. This is the part I don't know.
Yeah, so I grew up poor. I was one of 4 kids. My mom was a single mother. We were on and off of food stamps. I started working when I was 9 years old with a paper route, then, bussing tables and working at fast food restaurants and waiting tables, then bartending. And ultimately, I ended up getting into sales for the Gallo Winery. I became the #1 salesperson in the state my first year. Then I was sexually harassed at work and took that opportunity to pivot and go into the radio business, where I became an equity partner at a very young age, 25 years old. And I led a $25 million property and took over a company in Michigan for this equity partnership. And within 3 years, I derived enough value and revenue to convert that $25 million operation into a $55 million operation. We sold that property. And then I moved from there to Florida to take a position at a publicly traded radio company where I pitched myself for a job that didn't exist, VP of sales. I was awarded that position, and then I continually advanced until I reached Chief Revenue Officer.
That is, wow. You said pivot. I like that. Something happened to you in your life, sexual harassment, and you used this situation. How did you use that situation? And then the reason I want to break this down, because you're going to have people who are watching and listening to this around the world that really don't know how to take a situation like that and springboard it into something that's going, I call turning your mess into a message. Can you elaborate on that as if there's someone watching you right now that's going through that situation that may be passively accepting that situation with the hopes of leveling up in life? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, so I didn't know it at the time. At the time, it was horrible. I went home crying every night. I hated my job. I hated how I was being treated, and I didn't have the confidence or the wherewithal to know how to handle the situation. So I decided just to quit to get myself out of that horrible situation, which in hindsight was a great decision. I didn't have the funds to hire an attorney. I didn't want to take on this huge company. And I just wanted to go away from this negative situation and environment that I was in. It was really toxic. So I did what I could do in that situation. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do for a living. But one of the beautiful things about growing up poor and being a hustler, someone who knows how to work hard, is you'll always land on your feet. You might not know where, right? I didn't know what industry I'd go to. I didn't know but I knew hey, if I had to go work at a restaurant, I'd go work at a restaurant. I could make ends meet. Back then I didn't have a child, which becomes a little bit more complex when you can't move and you have a child. But, I was in my early 20s and I just knew I'll hustle. I'll do whatever I have to get out of the situation. I ended up going to an event one night and whenever I go to events, I always network and I introduce myself to people, and, I'm very focused on capitalizing on opportunities. I was at that event. I started chatting with a man that I met. I had no idea the man was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He is actually the person I ended up partnering with, but we were just chatting. And halfway through the conversation, he said, you should work for me. And I said, you can't afford me. Remember, I didn't have a job at the time. I had just left a horrible situation. I was really down on myself and being sexually harassed. And I said, you can't afford me. And he said, really? Give me a number. And I said, $150,000. I was unemployed. And he said, done, you start tomorrow. And taking that risk, first of all, putting myself out there to go out in a networking environment when I was unemployed and not knowing what I was going to do, approaching that conversation with confidence, and then letting someone know that they can't afford me when I don't even have a job, and throwing a number out, closing the deal, and then showing up the next day and going to work for that person. It's a series of risky decisions that I made that ended up paying off. And that partnership led to me moving to Michigan and really developing a name for myself in media.
Wow. We got some things in common. I've actually used that line before and not even thinking, and I meant it the same way that you meant it. Someone said, hey, we should hire him. And I said it with confidence, but I said it with humility at the exact same time. You can't afford me. I wasn't talking to a $100 million person at that time, but what I meant was you can't afford to keep me close because I've got to be moving around. And for me to stay close, you got to put some real money up on the table to walk away from what I have access to right now. And that leads me into your book, Confidence Creator. I absolutely love that title. I love the fact that you use the word hustler. You use the word, at 9 years old, you're already in a hustle mindset. My earliest memory in life was living in a battered women's shelter. I was the youngest of three boys. They moved us from Fort Worth, Texas to San Jose, California to protect us. Made a lot of bad decisions in life. Was introduced to drugs at a very young age, had a felony arrest as a teenager. So I really couldn't go to corporate America. I wasn't the guy that can get one of those types of jobs. But I knew, it's funny, I said that on stage last night. Thank God that American Airlines said no and UPS said no, because, I've always been that hustler. And I was, I mowed yards when I was 11 and 12 years old. I sold candy at school when I was young. I always had a hustle, but because I was exposed to the streets, like Les Brown says, I didn't know what I didn't know. I knew I was doing wrong, but I didn't know another way out. How did you develop this certain level of confidence? And I know that you have that story of hustler, and I know what that feels like. And I kind of hate to say this out loud because I don't want people to use it against me later on, but it's absolutely true. I know for a fact that I can start at ground zero again. I just know that. I know that you can knock me down, but I'll be damned if I don't get back up. Like I didn't lose that hustle. I wasn't a punk in the streets, and that's where I'm from. That's just kind of how we talk. I wasn't weak. I wasn't, so when I changed my life around and I came into the business world, I brought that same fight. I brought that same hustle, which is confidence. But I didn't know that word. I didn't know how to exercise that word. I want to talk about your book, Confidence Creator. How did you come up with that title?
Yeah, it just came to me. I approached writing a book the same way I had anything else in business. So when I get to a moment where I don't know what to do, I usually pull out a whiteboard. And I used to do it with my team back in corporate America, but we'd brainstorm, throw different ideas up. I just write down a ton of different things. And this time I just did it by myself. I was sitting at a table after I had written my book, knowing that ultimately my book is a compilation of my lowest moments in my life, how I have learned to create confidence from them, and how the reader can too. And I just pulled out a giant piece of paper and started writing names. And I probably had 120, 150 after I was done. And then every so often I'd come by the paper, I'd cross off a name I didn't like, cross off a name I didn't like. And, I did that over a week's time. And then one day I was just driving down the road and I remember saying, I know which one it is. And I got home, I just circled and I said, okay, that's it. We're moving forward with this name and move on. But it wasn't, that it was just emulating really the same strategies that I use in corporate America, which is I don't wake up with just, oh, this is the epiphany moment. It's about really trying to be creative and look at different ways and different approaches and brainstorm And then over time, get rid of the ones that aren't the right fit and whittle my way down to what I think works. And I'm really proud of the name. I'm proud of the book. I'm proud of the cover, and I'm proud of the content.
Now that the name is super dope, and I'm really big on names. Who does the which brand is it that does the 2 C's? Is it Chanel? That goes back to back, like confidence creator. I guarantee you can negotiate a multi-million-dollar deal with Chanel and travel with them and motivate.
Oh, that would be a beautiful partnership.
I need 10% for that idea, but you are truly a boss in heels. So why is it important for you to share that message of confidence? Because you're a woman of wealth. I mean, you really are a woman of wealth. You are a boss in heels, like you say. There's so many like platforms that you could absolutely master, and you are. Why is building confidence in people, in your audience, in your readers, why is that important to you? Because that's a message for everyone. That's not just a message for people who are at the top. It's a message for people who want to get to the top and people who are struggling at the bottom. Why is that message important to you?
Well, listen, it's like anything in business. It's not so much what's important to me. It's what's important to my listeners, to my followers, to my readers. Mm-hmm. And so it was revealed to me through social media that while I might be an expert in sales and sales leadership, people very rarely ask me for deep dive questions on that. What I would find, the questions I would always be getting in social media is, how did you bounce back from getting fired? How did you not remain crushed? How did you pick yourself back? People were so much more interested in that. I thought people would be more interested in, how did you get to the C-suite? How did you run meetings with thousands of people? How did you over-deliver results and revenue and innovate in revenue? I thought that was really interesting because not a lot of people have figured that out. But I decided, as I think any good content creator would do, is you want to answer the questions your audience has, not the ones you think are the best questions.
Wow.
Right? So, I mean, I didn't think those were the best questions, but they're the ones people wanted answers to. So I did a deep dive into that. People say to me all the time, you're a confidence expert. Am I really? I have 2 years in this space. I don't know that I am. I'm an expert in sales and sales leadership. I did that for 20 years. Right. But I don't know that I'm an expert in confidence yet. It's just currently what, is the hot topic people are asking me a lot about.
Okay. I beg to differ. I don't think it's because it's a hot topic. I really believe that you are a walking, talking billboard of confidence. I really do. And I think it started way before your professional career. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like to live on food stamps. I know what it's like to get knocked down. I know what it's like, to cry myself to sleep at night in a closet because I haven't seen my mother in 3 years and I don't know where she is. And that's weights. That's lifting weights, man. I mean, how do you know you have a good workout? You're sore the next day. I was sore early on in life. I was lifting weights that I didn't ask to lift, but it created the character who I am today. And you just really, really created some accountability in my life because I know the message I want to share. I know the message I love to share. I love talking about entrepreneurialism. I love talking about, the fact that I've helped over 30 people become millionaires. But the most question that I get more than anything else is it's more of a mindset question. It's more like, Johnny, how? Like, how did you, like, the number one question that I would get from, like, when I was first getting started, like, Johnny, what was the moment? I'm like, I just told you on stage. And like, no. What was the moment that it happened for you? And I understand my moment was tragedy. My homeboy was murdered and I was going to retaliate. I was in high school. And at the wake, the night before the funeral, the mother stood in front of the casket. She said, I forgive the young man who killed my son. And I gave a gun to a preacher that night. I walked up, I said, I don't want this life anymore. And I gave a gun to the preacher. That was a moment for me. And it wasn't the gun, it was what his mother said. His mother said, I forgive the young man who killed my son. I'm like, well, who in the hell am I to get revenge if the mother has already found forgiveness? I felt like I was disrespecting her. And that was my moment. So when people started asking me, Johnny, what was the moment? What was the moment? What was the moment? They weren't really looking for the story. They were looking for the moment where I said, I'm done. The moment where I said, this is enough. And I do believe that your confidence brand will live forever. I think our brands of success will be here while we're here. And that's great. We will get that. But I believe that my message, my personal story, and the antidotes that I use in my life to overcome all the tragedies, I believe that's what's really going to live on. You know, when I hold my book in my hand, and I wrote this 15 years ago, and I think about, you know, the title, From the Hood to Doing Good, it's not a story on my life. But I do tell you principles that I use, which leads me to have to tell you a story. And people get caught up into the how-to more so than anything else. And that really leads me to believe that people are hungry, man. And I don't think it's a fake hunger. I think, and this is going to sound weird, it's hard for me to understand. Maybe easy for you to understand. When people say how, like what happened? What was that moment? How did you do it? How do you have that confidence? I get that question a lot. Johnny, I lack confidence, and I think that's why I'm staying on that word so much, because I really don't understand how people struggle with confidence on the level that they do. Help us with that.
Yeah, well, I do get it because I definitely did. You know, I don't so much right now currently, but you know, it's because I'm 45 years old and I have so many experiences of being divorced, being fired, going through the recession, losing all of my money, regaining my, when you have so much failure and then success, failure and then success, it really teaches you and or equips you to further move forward and handle setbacks a bit more graciously. I love the way Gary Vee articulated it to me. I was on his show a couple months ago and he was talking about the moment I got fired. And he said, hang on, this is how I would have seen it differently. And this is really eye-opening. He said, I would have walked into that meeting with that lady knowing, okay, if she fires me, micro challenge, meaning this is going to be a headache for a minute. I got to figure this out. But in the big picture, I'm capable, I'm talented, and I'm going to go on to something even better because I'm not going to be working with someone that hates me. He said it's a micro challenge leading to a macro opportunity, which is very well articulated and very correct. However, what happens to a lot of people who are struggling with confidence, and here's why I had been associating my title, my assistants, my team, my employees, my clients with my confidence, right? So I was associating things outside of me externally with confidence. And when that moment hit and I felt like I lost everything, I didn't, but I felt like I did, my confidence smashed and hit an all-time low. I wasn't seeing it the way Gary Vee saw it. Oh, wow, I'm really talented. I'm going to be fine. This is going to lead me somewhere better. I was seeing it as I've just lost everything. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. Holy cow, how am I going to send my kid to school? You know, am I going to have to go wait table? I went to the worst possible situation. And it took a little bit of time, you know, going under a weighted blanket. I tell everyone, bombing some Chardonnays, crying and feeling bad for myself. But within 24 hours, I bounced back mentally enough to put out on social media and be very vulnerable. I have just been fired. And after 14 years, this feels terrible. If I have ever done anything to help you or your career, I'd love to hear from you today. That post went viral and gave me a great opportunity. Froggy from the Elvis Duran show tweeted at me, hey, Heather, love what you're doing. How can I help you? And I learned when people offer to help you, convert in the moment. Don't say, oh, I'll get back to you in a few weeks, because their life is going to go on. So I capitalized. I tweeted right back.
Wait, hold on. Convert in the moment.
Yeah, because what happens is a lot of times people will say, you know, oh, like that day I had 100,000 responses coming at me on social media. I didn't have a lot of time to respond to everybody, but I was very disciplined in shutting everything else out except responding to people, because I knew 2 weeks from then their kid could have broken their leg. They could have left the country and be on vacation. They're not going to be around when I try to convert. So converting in that moment is critical, because it's someone extending an olive branch and hand to you to help you. If you blow that off, you might just miss that opportunity. So I tweeted right back, I'd love to go on the Elvis Duran show. Can you book me? He tweeted right back, okay, let me work on that right now. He got me on that show a month later, which led me to sitting across from Elvis Duran and him saying, well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book. I wasn't. But I said, well, obviously, Elvis, I am. And he said, well, when is it coming out? Accountability, right? So I said, it'll be out this year. And what happened from that was it led me to a higher level of accountability. It allowed me to see someone who in my eyes is very successful believe in me so much so that I believed in me. And I converted his belief in me into my own belief in me. And I got on a plane and I Googled, how do you write a book? And then I just started writing, and then I committed to it. And then I started putting it out to the world and telling other people I was writing a book, which led me to finalizing Confidence Creator and launching that book.
I absolutely love that. You're slapping me left and right now. Like, you really are slapping me. I think, when it comes to sales, I'm a killer. When it comes to, converting and if I could see it on the board, I'm going to get it. But I do procrastinate in responding when it comes to me wanting something from somebody. You know what I mean? When it comes to me getting something to you, I'm a killer. But when it comes to me wanting something from you and having that moment, like, you really just slap the hell out of me, because I'm wondering, how much have I left on the table? How many people have suffered because I didn't convert fast enough or respond fast enough? That's big for me. It's bigger than you know. Let's talk about your show, Creating Confidence. Back to confidence, creating confidence. Again, I think that's your brand. I think you know it. I think everybody knows it. And I think about my mom right now. If my mom would really tell the real story, if she had the confidence to tell the real story, I believe that she could change the lives of millions of people even when she's gone. And to me, I maybe that's why I'm really big on this confidence, because you've been through some things. You can hide it if you wanted to, or you could divide it and share it with everybody and everybody in the world. So let's talk about your show. What is the concept of your show? I know it's going to be under the umbrella of confidence, but what's the why behind it? What's the WHY?
So, every step that I've taken as I've gone to work for myself, left corporate America, has been into the unknown, into this abyss. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a rookie, right? So I was a rookie author. And so I started Googling, how do you sell books? And you speak to sell books.
Yep.
So I had been speaking for 20 years in corporate America. So that was easy. So I started calling people, oh, can I come speak for your company? Can I come speak for your school? And then finally someone said, how much does it cost? And I said, wait, you pay?
What do you mean?
And I didn't know, because in media, people don't hire speakers typically, right? You have talent within the building and they speak for free. So I was unaware and or naive based upon the world I lived in. I only saw that vantage point. Now that I was opening up my mind to this other area of business and entrepreneurial world, I learned there's billions of dollars in speaking. That's something that I do naturally. So I entered into the speaking business, became a professional speaker, represented by a number of different speaker agencies. During that evolution, I also learned another way to sell books is to go on podcasts. So I started being a guest. And, you start small and start doing some small shows and then bigger shows. And then I did, Gary Vaynerchuk's show. I did David Meltzer's show. I did the Lady Gang. I started doing some, Dr. Drew, a lot of really large shows. And during that process, I started thinking, wow, this is sort of, it comes easy to me. This is an interesting thing. And then I start getting DMs. Why don't you start your own show? Heather, you need your own show. I want to hear from you each week. But I thought to myself at the time, I can't handle the bandwidth of one more responsibility, right? My focus was sell the books, get the book sales and revenue going. Because remember, I'm not independently wealthy. I was no longer in corporate America. My paycheck was gone. So I was looking for revenue streams and how can I be efficient with my time and what's got the strongest ROI. So I'm leaning into book sales initially. Then I start finding out and discovering speaking is much more profitable for me. I mean, there's some people out there, Brad Meltzer sells millions of books. The author lane is better for him and more profitable for him. For me, I was making a lot more money from the speaking engagements and my ROI was better spent there. So I started leaning more into speaking and doing podcasts on the side. And then during that time, I was given an opportunity to partner with Podcast One. They had some good ideas on launching a show where I would share insight into my personal life, my struggle as an entrepreneur and what I was doing that week to evolve. I'd feature a guest and they'd go through what challenges they were facing and how they're creating confidence and success in their life. And then I'd wrap up the show at the end with Q&A from my audience. So that was really the origination of the show. That started in May last year. So it hasn't been out a year yet. But the feedback's been great. I've had Sarah Blakely, Jesse Itzler. I just had Chris Voss, the FBI's #1 hostage negotiator on. So I've had Ryan Serhant, some amazing, Caitlin Bristow, amazing guests, all talking about their low moments, how they've learned to create success and create confidence in their life. And the feedback's been really good so far.
Wow. Congratulations. Most of the stories that I tell, I'm talking about over a decade ago. You're talking about a year ago. You're talking about, and I love this because I want this show to reach the masses and serve the masses at the exact same time. And you are the perfect guest to be on the Master of Wealth show because I do believe you have mastered confidence in so many ways as well as success. But, I believe that winning begins within. Success has so many definitions. And the cool thing about success and wealth, you get to come up with your definition. And the reason I talk about wealth, because I think wealth begins from within. And I believe that when you love who you are, you love whose you are, you love what you represent, I believe you can walk in your full confidence because you're not faking, you're not acting, you're not paying me to talk about something I'm not passionate about. I'm talking about my passion from within, and that brings inner wealth as well.
Let me interrupt you there for a second, though, because I think this is important for people to know. You don't have to be confident or secure in yourself to be wealthy. And by wealthy, I mean financially, right? Because here's the thing. When I was very young, I was super insecure and I made more money when I was 25 years old than I did in any other year of my life when I was an equity partner, right? Because I generated $30 million in net cash flow for the company. So I was killing it financially at a very young age and I had no confidence. And I see a lot of people out there too in different businesses who are very obviously not confident and they're killing it, monsters, making so much. They're doing it scared, but they're making a fortune. And it's so interesting to me because as I've rebooted from ground zero as an entrepreneur, no experience as an author, no experience as a podcast host, I started with $0, right? And I'm shelling out my savings, investing in me and creating these different initiatives. It can be trying at times. So I don't want people to get discouraged by that. If you don't feel extremely confident today, don't worry. You can still go out and make money. I've been there. I've done that too. And I've been really extremely confident and I'm not making as much money currently as I was at that point in time. Yeah. So there's going to be different moments for different things. I also have a vision and understanding of business right now that I can see the future and the vision of where my business is going and how it will be more profitable than I've ever been. But certain things do take a little bit of time. And I think it's common to get frustrated to say, I made more money then, or I'm not where I thought I'd be yet. When you start looking at that bigger picture and start realizing there are tipping point moments in any business where you go from I'm constantly investing in it to constantly the revenue's taking off. There are these moments, and just don't lose faith in those moments or in yourself before you hit that tipping point. But 97% of the people do.
Yeah. I'm glad you interrupted me because I did not want to give off the message that you have to be confident in every area of your life, because as I sit here even before you, I'm not confident on a dance floor. There are a lot of areas, unless I have a couple drinks, but I don't know anybody who's confident in everything that they do. You mentioned Dr. Drew. I work with a few of his clients as a celebrity life coach. And there are people that we see on TV that we celebrate. That's the word celebrity. It's one who is celebrated by the masses. There are people that we celebrate. We clap for them. We love them. But they don't love themselves as much as you love them. That's not wealth. That's not success. That is a lack of confidence. So don't get confused with, your bank account. Your bank account will never, be the ultimate result of any level of confidence. There are a lot of people who hurt people, manipulate people, lie to people, step on people to build their bank account. That's not confident. So I'm glad you slowed me down and you talked about that. I love your passion. I love your heart. And this is something that I always look for when I'm interviewing individuals. Your heart for people, your heart to share. I think that puts you in a league of your own, in a category of your own. how do people get in touch with you if they want to know more about you, if they want to get in touch with you? I don't know if you do personal coaching or if you have any coaching products or any mass seminars or events that you have coming up, but how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website is heathermonahan.com, and there's a contact us a form that you can fill out there. I have a drip bot that responds to questions that are there, as well as you can DM me on any social media. I'm at Heather Monahan on everything.
That's super cool. Well, listen, as we are wrapping up the Master of Wealth show, I'm your host, Johnny Wimbrey. We have the one and only Heather Monahan in the building. Is there anything that you want to leave the people with? Anything could be off topic. It doesn't matter. Anything that you want to share with the listeners and viewers right now?
Yeah, keep your head up. Don't look back. We can all get into this rut where we start looking back on, where I've come from. I've been through so much hardship, and that can really pull you down. It's important. I'm constantly facing new challenges. You're constantly facing new challenges as we grow and evolve. And it's really important to keep looking forward, staying positive. When you're staying positive, surrounding yourself with positive people and doing things you love, good things will happen. Just keep going.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show. A major part of my confidence is the fact that I surround myself around people who outthink me, which makes me feel safe. And I believe, something that goes hand in hand with confidence is being safe. I'm safe because I invest in people like you. I invest with people who have the message of where I want to be. Right now I'm working with authors. I'm helping people become published authors. I'm helping people understand the professional speaking arena, like you said. There are many people who have this gift, who have a story, have a heart and a passion to share, but they don't really understand that it's an actual industry. So I teach people the industry of professional speaking and professional communicators, whether you're in a boardroom, whether you're on the radio, whatever it is, your ability or inability to effectively communicate who you are, it's going to make you or it's going to cost you millions. And the question is, which one is it doing for you right now? Is it costing you millions or is it making you millions? And that's what I teach people. And that comes from having a lot of confidence. So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you more than you know. And you slapped me around a little bit, and I'm going to go back and re-listen to this a few times. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Heather. It's been a blessing. It's been an honor. And hopefully I'll be seeing you somewhere very soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Say increase. Say increase.
Thanks for listening to Masters of Wealth. To find out more about Heather, follow her on Facebook at facebook.com/Heather Monahan Official, or check out her podcast, Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan, on your favorite podcasting platform. To learn more about Johnny, check out his Instagram at Wimbrey and follow him on Facebook at facebook.com/Johnny Wimbrey. To hear more episodes of Masters of Wealth, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platform so that you can be the first to hear new episodes every single week. And to find out how you can be a co-author in Johnny and Heather's next book, head to costarauthor.com to learn more. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.